Hello, welcome to day 15 of the Gratitude and Appreciation Rituals. I'm Jess Chillingford, and we are live in the Projector Success Hub. See if I can turn that volume off. Right, now let me just check that I am live because my screen is blank and make sure all is well. All is always well. I'm there. Okay, so day 15 is about turning our pain into profit. And I really, really love this because this is a big part of the work that I do in the world. It's a big part of my personal journey from being disempowered to being empowered. Okay, so yesterday when I was reflecting on this, I wanted to begin by sharing a story by Shakespeare, which I will do, but I think I want to give you the context first. So back in 2016 or something like that, I think it was 2015. It was 2015. I had been working in a school for about 6 years. Maybe it was it was my 7th year that I left. So it's around 6 or 7 years. It was either the 6th or 7th year. And I was outstanding as a practitioner. My results were outstanding. I was the best in the department. My teaching skills were amazing. But I'm a projector, and I'm a projector who doesn't know they're a projector. And we get new management. We get two new leaders come into the English department. And these two leaders do not like me. Now, part of the reason was, and honestly, it was because I knew a lot more than them. I had deeply studied the new GCSE that had come in. They were under a lot of pressure themselves, and they were working in a lot of dysfunction. So they had come into a very dysfunctional situation as well. So I can understand that in context, but their leadership skills were really poor. And I was going to leave that September as they arrived. And I wanted more. I wanted to build my career. I wanted to become a leader, like a leader department, because I was ready for that. And my school, I'd gone for an interview, got the job, and my school said, what can we do to keep you? And I said, well, make me assistant subject leader. Let me have responsibility for Key Stage 3, because I could see this was what had been the problem the whole time, the lack of efficiency. There would always be all this pressure to teach, to put high stakes teaching onto Key Stage 4, which was like year 11 doing their end of year exams, and no quality, consistent teaching and a practical pedagogy to ensure that the lower stages have been learning effectively. So I had the solutions for all of this. And I said, if we have a powerful curriculum for Key Stage 3, it means by the time they get to year 11, they're going to be self-led. They're going to be able to read independently. They're going to have high critical literacy skills, because the quality of teaching in lower down will ensure that. So that was my vision. And the leader came in, and he wasn't meant to be the head of department. He was meant to be the lead teacher, and I wanted to be a lead teacher because teaching was my thing. Like, I spent every waking hour learning different strategies, learning from different disciplines, and I put it into practice. So I became a master, and he didn't like me. And what happened was, he decided to put a 360 into place, which was it's a really great tool if it's done effectively. And I thought naively that it was being done effectively. And he put this 360 in, which meant that everyone anonymously would be able to answer questions. But when I got the results, the questions that they had answered and the way that they'd done it was really weird. And I've been creating all the curriculum and creating trainings to teach the staff. And yeah, when I received the information, nobody understood what I was saying. So all of these professional people didn't understand what I was saying. This is important as I lead up to this. So one morning he catches me on the way to class. So it's 7 a.m. and I've got to school. And he catches me in the hallway and says, "Oh, hi, did you read the responses in the 360?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "And what did you think?" And I said, "That I gabble like a thing most brutish. That you think I gabble like a thing most brutish." And he said, "Well, I don't understand." And I said, "Well, none of you understand me. None of you understand what I'm saying. But the children do. Parents understand, because I was explaining the new curriculum. I was explaining why we had to do things. I was creating, like, teaching them the science behind whatever. And yet these people didn't understand." So that was a quote from Shakespeare's play, The Tempest. And I do want to say, before I go on to that, why that quote's important, why gabbling like a thing most brutish is so important. But the thing was, I, now looking back at that, so in 2019, when I actually left education, I moved into a big crusade. I wanted to go and change the education system from the outside. I was a maverick. I was angry. I was driven by a conviction to improve education, which was right, but it was driven by anger, and it was driven by anger. And so what happened was, I was trying to prove, and every single day, like when they said they didn't understand what I was saying, I would try harder and harder and harder to explain in different ways. I would work more, work later, and never to be heard. And it's because I hadn't been recognized and hadn't been invited. And even the fact that I was given the position of assistant subject leader, he refused to give me that. There was so much weird shit going on. But had I not gone through that experience, I would not have developed the power to actually recognize myself, because all of this was me trying to prove, trying to get somebody outside of me to prove how great I was. When I actually thought, hang on a minute, this is crazy, I'm great. And so I walked out. And when I walked out, and I went to India, and I took some time, and then I got a new job, and then I decided this is bullshit. So I walked out of that. And that is when I got the 15 grand job to work for 8 weeks. And it was that process of learning to look at myself, recognize my magic, my genius, my expertise, and take my power back. If it hadn't been for those experiences with those people, I would not. Well, they were karmic lessons that I had chosen to experience this lifetime, to step into the role that I'm getting to step into now. So that's part of it. Every relationship has a purpose, and that's part of the message for today. But gabbling like a thing most brutish. There's this play by Shakespeare called The Tempest, and I don't know if you know it. If you do know it, say yes in the comments. And this is about a magician called Prospero, who goes to this island, and he's been exiled by his brother, and he goes to this island with his daughter Miranda, and he takes over the island from a character called Caliban. And Caliban is presented as he's the slave of Prospero. So let me see who said that. Yeah, Jay, you know The Tempest. Brill. Okay, fantastic, right? Oh, and hi, good evening. I don't know who said that because my screen won't let me see it. But if it's Jay, hi, Jay. Right, so Caliban's on this island, and he's now this slave of Prospero. And Prospero's treating him really, really badly. Caliban hates him. Prospero wants revenge on his brother, and that's what this whole time on the island is, plotting this revenge to go and take back his thing. So he's driven by this anger and this rage. And he does what Prospero, let's have a look. It's Abigail. Oh, hi, Abigail. And Prospero is a mirror to Caliban. So their relationship mirror each other. Prospero has had his power usurped, and he comes to the island and he usurps Caliban's power. But the line that got me when I was thinking about this gratitude ritual was, Caliban goes, I think he tried to rape Miranda. He was either accused of it or he had done it. And Prospero says to him, how dare you do this when I've civilized you, I've given you language, because he was teaching him the English language. And interestingly, in this play, the lower character is actually speaking in prose. He speaks high poetic language, and this is because Shakespeare is teaching us something about this, the power of this character. But the point is, Caliban's like turns to him and says, you taught me your language, but my profit on't is that I learned how to curse. And he was cursing Prospero and the daughter all the time, because yes, he had got the value of learning their language, but had he been civilized, was their language any higher than his own? And so there's all these nuance about the nature of what we get from relationships, what they teach us, and how we respond to our relationships. Basically, we could be bitter and angry, resentful, and take them as crusades and let them rot our insides, basically. Or we can look at it from the perspective of, we've learned a lesson and they've taught us something that we can go out into the world into a higher level of consciousness, or find more peace, or find unconditional love for ourselves. And then, so that was the first one. I held a lot of anger for a while until I decided, and actually, when I released the anger from the education situation, I actually realized I didn't even want to lead the crusade for education anymore. I actually didn't want to build the Be the Expert movement. That was all driven by trying to prove. And this is the thing, had I not experienced that, I would not have gone into human design. I wouldn't have learned about the projector. I wouldn't have been, it was all my curriculum to be able to understand deeply the conditioning that we go through, so that I could then teach others, or then help others to unwind. So that was part of that. The final thing before we go into it was relationships with, I was repeating patterns in my private life with males, with partners who were always abusive, always narcissistic. And it was only until the final time when I realized, my soul said, let's have a look. Open ego. Yeah, exactly. Open ego. Proving. Lack of self-worth. Not knowing, and also with the sacral, not knowing when there's enough and stuff. So many things. Not even, I'm open everywhere, basically. I'm open everywhere except for my spleen and my G center. And it was, again, walking away in 2019 and going to live in the jungle and be away from everybody, being in my own aura for a year, that I learned to trust my inner being, to connect with my spleen, to follow my intuition, to hear my own voice, and become aligned, deconditioned. And I continue to work on that. I see it show up in different aspects of business. So I've seen it come up the last few months in business, which has, again, got me to withdraw, reevaluate how I structure and how I teach and who I work with, and to recalibrate and come back again. But it's always lessons. And the key thing is that I don't look at the other as the problem. Because what I found was in 2018, when I let a guy into my house, I'd been in this non-committal relationship. I'm a 3-line, and I do have a big commitment. I've had in my past a commitment issue with commitment, but it got me to look at my own levels of my own attachment things, my own level of unavailability, emotional unavailability. So he was a mirror to me. So Caliban and Prospero, mirrors of each other. My worst, most darkest relationships were mirrors of myself. And through that, I got to open my heart into deep levels of love and deep levels of power, personal power. So I always look at myself. I look at, what am I doing to co-create this experience? What is this relationship mirroring to me about a belief I hold, or a lack of self-worth, or a thing that I can't even see within myself that I need to address? Why am I in this dynamic? And I became softer. I became very, very open to self-inquiry. I began to look within. I began to unwind patterns. I began to look at the conditioning that had been set up between the ages of 0 and 7, working with the inner child. But I saw the beauty in all of the relationships, by the end. So, so turning our pain into profit. And the final thing I want to say before I get into the gratitude ritual on this is that this is my worldview. It doesn't have to be your worldview, but my worldview is, which came to me in 2019 as I went so I could be quiet and recalibrate after being thrown around my whole life, just confused with everything. I realized that we are living on an earth school. So to me, earth is a school. It's a place to evolve our consciousness. This is my worldview. This is what made me understand my life in this context. And I realized that my soul was here for evolution. And I realized that I had experienced many karmic relationships. And there were two types of relationship that I'd been experiencing. Ones that were all relationships were karmic. So either they were like karmic, the most challenging ones I found were the ones that had the gold. They had the lessons for my evolution and my growth. The ones that I have many relationships that come in, go out, come in, go out. And, I'm a 3-line as well. So those that just ended naturally, like, their cycle just ran out, they were cool. There was no lesson there. But those ones that were really, really hard, and I've had some very hard, challenging relationships, not just in my personal life, but in business and in other places, in career as well. So I realized that this was an earth school, and it was about evolution. And I also realized personally that my consciousness was creating everything around me, which is why I focus on changing myself rather than changing anybody outside of me. Why I work on, I work from within rather than changing out the external. And even my mum, like coming back to live with my mum, it's gone now, it's over, I think. I have been unwinding so much ancestral stuff and dealing with mother wound stuff. I was able to see how it had gone down the matriarchal line of, there's some heavy shit. And I've been able to find deep healing and deep love and deep awareness. And I still get triggered by my mum, but I use that as portals to, again, unwinding stuff within me so I can be at as much peace as possible. And so that's really it. So let's look at today's ritual. No, I stopped the screen share. Oh no, I didn't really finish actually. The point was, sorry, it's my open throat there. I'll just say it right now, is turning your pain into profit. What I've found, having those 4 years now of being basically in solitude, basically working through my studying, understanding, reflecting, building my own methodologies and ideas about the world. Every relationship has been part of my journey into my purpose, journey into my purpose. So there's different levels of purpose, like every moment is a purpose, but the work I'm here to express, everything has led me to understand the incarnation cross. So as we move to our north nodes, 45, oh my God, and 35, these are my north nodes, like it makes so much sense what I'm here, like what people are looking for from me and how I've been trained through life to deliver that. Money, wealth, alchemy, oh my Lord. Like my relationship with money and power and overworking and undercharging and giving shit away and not having the value, being a projector, it's all come together to make sense to lead me to my incarnation cross of the racks of penetration 4, so that I can do that, teach that, work and create that shit that I'm here to teach. So anyway, same for you. That's my opinion. Healing your relationships. Now, what's this? Day 15. Yeah, okay, so that's today. So, because I'm doing day 15, I'm doing it a day after because I took a day off yesterday. Healing relationships and turning your pain into profit. A little poem I wrote. So this is something that came to me in 2015. Well, not sorry, 2019. I was sitting on I was actually having loads of snake dreams at the time, which isn't unfamiliar to me because I work with spirit animal guides. A lot of the time they're guiding me in dream space or in real life. Like I had a bird come in the other day. So my connection with the animal realm and the spirit realm is very clear and open. But I was sitting at a cafe where I'd actually seen, I came up to this cafe and there was this cobra skin sitting on a chair that I'd always sit on. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And the following day I went there and there was this like green snake just sitting on a chair. And I was like, okay. And I sat down to write, just because journaling is my way of connecting with my inner world. And I came up with, and I think it's pretty cliche, but it's not the snake that kills you, it's the venom. Holding on to pain, hurt, and suffering, rather than observing the lesson and the blessing, is like slow poisoning of your own inner joy, inner light, and inner power. And that is where I had those shifts. These aren't intellectual shifts. These are things that we have to come through on our own. People can blare out all day all these ideas and teachings and intellectual ideas, but it is about the embodiment. That's what shifts your chemistry. That's what shifts your cellular memories from anger and resentment and all those things and unwinds them so that you then begin to vibrate at a different frequency. Then you then begin to bring different relationships into your experience. And I have to say, like, so all my life I've had really, really dark, abusive male partners, apart from one or two. And they were just mirrors of I was raised by a sociopath. For 11 years, I lived in a house with a diagnosed sociopath. So there was pure violence. And there's no, I chose it. Like there was, I believe I chose these families, I chose these experiences, and I love them all. Like I see the magic in them all. And I have, as a result, got to find a lot of peace and power, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Well, I can't remember what I was trying to say there, but observing the lesson, the blessing, doesn't matter. So in day 12, we were looking at who are the champions. We were celebrating people that made an impact in our lives. And I invited people to look at even if they were challenging relationships. But this is really the one about that. So today's practice invites you to reframe your perception of the difficult relationships you've encountered during this lifetime. The heart is where we carry our wounds and build walls that we can remove through forgiveness, acceptance, and turning pain into wisdom. And some people say forgiveness is not for the other, it's for yourself. But I think when we forgive and give grace to another, we actually change them as well. So there's this thing called, not to say that you should go up to like people and always forgive them and tell them about it. I personally did, right, with the guy in one of them who was like really, really very violent and abusive, a nut job. Shouldn't call him that. But I was in a safe place. I was in Malaysia and he was in England. And I got some downloads. So I spoke to his mom. Like I saw visions about what happened to him in his childhood. I saw how he became. And so I did reach out via video call and gave him grace. That might sound a bit egoic. It's not meant to come across like that, but I let him know that I understood why things had happened, why he was, how he was, and that there was no energy here. I wanted to break the karmic cycle, basically. I didn't want to do another lifetime with this relationship because it felt like we'd done many, many lifetimes. And so forgiveness is something you have to come to on your own. I found it very, very powerful for me. I found acceptance very powerful. I found forgiveness very powerful. And oh, that's what I wanted to say. When I actually was on a cellular level and a truly embodied level, had given up the anger, the rage, the blaming, all of the stuff that had been bound into it, my whole external world changed. The men that I invited into my life were loving, they were kind, they were giving, they were mutual, there was reciprocity, I was treated like a goddess, I was treated with deep love, and it was the love I was giving myself. Again, it starts from within. I realized that guy, the unavailable guy, and the violent guy, he was, and the narcissism, I had aspects of that, even though I'm not on the extreme level of narcissism. Where was I unavailable? Where was I unable to, why was I unable to commit and get, where was I dishonest? Where was I not giving? Like, there was all this shit. But anyway, this is your own work. It's not the work that I do. Just sharing. But let's go. So it was the half savage, half vulnerable men boys in my early traumatic relationships that taught me what divinity was. Out of the embers of a once burnt heart, a flame so brightly and brilliantly burned, fanned by hope, faith, and charity. And as I say, like, my life has changed massively in so many levels. The relationships I draw to me, the peace that I have, the energy, my vibration, my face, like, I look lighter, I look younger, like, I don't have health problems. A cruelty too dark to relive. It was in him I saw myself, and in myself I saw divinity. And that's when I operate. I realized that I see the divinity in all. It's challenging, but this is my reality. It's challenging for people that can't see that yet. So yeah, we are all operating from our own wounds until we are not. When we reclaim power, we shift from the victim consciousness to the victor. With this new lens, we can reframe our relationships in a new context. Relationships are how we evolve, how we define our boundaries, and how we learn who we are. And with that open emotional solar plexus, I was deeply conditioned into people pleasing. I didn't trust men because I wasn't in a safe environment when I grew up. So all of this patterns and these defenses I'd carried into adulthood, into those relationships, and they kept repeating until I learned to be honest, until I learned to ask for what I need, until I learned to set healthy boundaries and to speak up and to look at my own emotional reactions. Everything changed. So when I look at another, I don't look at them as bad. I look at them, what is within me that you're mirroring that I need to understand. That was the shift. If we've only been modeled codependent patterns, it's through our healing that we shift into reclaiming power and choosing to redefine our lives. Let me just check on the comments if anyone's saying anything. I'm on my phone, but I can't see. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm your mirror today. I'm so happy. I hope that's a good thing. Yeah. So let's have a look. It's through our healing that we shift into reclaiming our power and choosing to redefine our lives. Knowing that all souls agree to their contracts this lifetime to experience soul growth shifted how I viewed past relationships and helped me to be grateful for the evolution that came from them. This practice invites you to flip the switch, move from blame, shame, and criticism to gratitude for the lessons and the blessings. When we reflect on the lessons and the blessings, we move from blame and victimhood to empowerment and healing. So I'll give you another example. I recently on Instagram started following some woman called Seek with Sir, and she is on a rampage. Like, she's on a she's got this conviction and she's driven by the need to save the world because of her experience in cults. I think she was in the Osho cult. And so she goes around attacking other leaders, people like Till Swan, people like Melanie Ann Leah, other high profile teachers, coaches, New Age or self-help, Gabby Bernstein. She goes around getting clips of their videos and then breaking down why they're toxic or why they're this or that. Now, I was like a little bit comfortable about it, because I'm like, I don't see those people as cults. I see people as having been in a cult myself, and also having been in cultish dynamics through codependent relationships, enmeshment, power, coercion, coercive control. I'd experienced all of those things. But what happened was, rather than me going out and teaching the world how to take down cults and take down this and that, and driven by anger, which was the same thing I was with education, I decided to actually, I still teach how to be empowered, but it's not through the lens of anger. It's not through trying to take people down and show people, maybe she's gate 18 or 18 in correction in human design. But yeah, it makes me think of her as well. It's like, how do we go out and she's obviously looked at her story and thought, right, I want to help save the world, which is what I had that angle as well. I want to help save the children. I want to give them, save them from the clutches of terrible teachers and bad education and blah, blah, blah. But then I soon realized, actually, no. And I wanted to go and I didn't go and take down the churches. And, it was my story. That was the point. And I mentioned on her Instagram yesterday, we're all here to experience these things so that we can step into our power. So it's like, that's it. Once you've learned the lesson, then what? Then you can actually live in peace. But anyway, everyone's on their own journey. I'm a teacher of peace. Peace and prosperity. That's my thing. But I guess, again, everyone's on their own journey. So she might be here to actually do that and work with people on those journeys. But what it made me sad was that somebody was going around denigrating other people because they were teaching what they teach. And it's like, why are we going around judging everyone? I saw another thing yesterday as well. I know I keep going off track, but I saw it made me think about marketing. I saw another person using I thought, who's teaching these tactics? Like, who's teaching coaches and healers to go around denigrating other coaches and healers? Like, say things like, oh, I'm not the kind of healer who does this or that. I'm not the kind of coach who does this or that. So I don't know. And, I don't think we need to do that, to sell our own services. I don't think we need to do that. We might need to express who we are and what we stand for, but there's an energy and a frequency behind it that is just, it's not pure. It doesn't come with it doesn't feel good, basically. But anyway, this practice invites you to flip the switch from blame, shame, and criticism, blah, blah, blah. Gratitude is a form of alchemical healing. So when we look for reasons to be grateful for the person, the relationship, or the experience, it can be very healing and can neutralize the festering anger that can cause illness, inner pain, and personal suffering. When we hold on to pain, it remains in the energy field, stored in the body as trauma and as memories in our subconscious mind. And these can cause us to relive those patterns, to attract the same energy over and over at worst. Over and over again, and at worst, block true love, peace, and happiness from coming into our lives. This ritual invites you to look for things you can be grateful for. If this is difficult, you can think back to how things were before the relationship deteriorated. If the relationship was never good, reflect on what good qualities the person did have or what the experience had. They will be there. So I'll give you another one. Like, one night, this was 2018, and this guy was looking at me with he had the psychopath glare. And two things that were really striking, pivotal about that. Firstly, actually, one night I was a workaholic. Like, I was on speed. I loved my job. I was, but I threw everything into it. Why was I a workaholic? Like, not just being a super slave and being a projector super slave. This was because I didn't want to face everything else in my life. So didn't want to face myself. So I poured everything into giving and self-sacrificing for a cause that I loved. And it was great, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't sustainable, and it wasn't balanced. And he sat across from me one day and said, "You don't love yourself, do you?" Those words were like a trigger for me. So he was a catalyst for sowing the seeds for me to really start to investigate what that meant. Another time, like, he was sitting across from me because he was playing with me in a like toying with me in a way, but we had really bad sex. he I'd had great lovers in the past, like great love, like who, and I'm 35, so I'm very, like, my sexual energy is, I'm all about the divine feminine and sex and sexuality and sensuality, but I had numbed and numbed and numbed and numbed and numbed to the point where I was like a vessel, like the sex was just so mechanical and bad, like bad. Not just bad sex, but I mean, I wasn't asking for what I needed. There was no love in it. It was a weird thing. And I was allowing that, whatever reason. And he again sat across from me and said, "Why don't you tell the truth?" That was another jolt. So, as bad as the situation was, it was really awakening. Guess what? Actually, in Gene Keys, my purpose sphere is awakening 51. And so the highest level of that, the Siddhic, is awakening. And in Gene Keys, when we look at the Venus sequence and we evolve our consciousness through relationship, we always look at the sphere of purpose. To access the essence of that sphere, we look at it through the lens of relationships. So how does my relationship awaken my consciousness, right? How does it initiate me and awaken? And so those were key moments. As though it was bad, I don't look back at that now with any negativity. I look at it as points of real transformation for me. So that was that. And then the final one was, he was about to attack me. And he was looking at me with the glazed eyes. I knew the glazed eyes. And this is when I believed I started working with Panther Spirit. Something came into me and I looked at him and I disarmed him with a stare. I went into like a trance-like state and I disarmed him. And he said to me, "Why are you looking at me with that killer stare?" Maybe I was going to kill him, I don't know. And he disarmed him and I didn't get attacked. And that was another time. That's when I realized I was working with Panther energy. And I wasn't in spiritual stuff then. I'd started buying all these. His relationship was a massive catalyst for me. It was the beginning of the dark night of the soul for me to change my life. I didn't want to experience non-love anymore. But what I got to experience with him was returning non-love with love, which was for me, really powerful. So pain into profit. So what's the pain? These are very simple ones. What I've been talking to you about are really heavy things. And that's because I never do things on a superficial level for me. But pain, ex-partner is connected to you through your children, but isn't in a good relationship. Profit, you look at the children and you feel gratitude for your ex-partner because you realize that without them, the children couldn't exist. So it's ways of shifting the negativity into what's the profit here? What's the pain and what's the profit? But if you actually do this work on a deeper level, this is really about self-healing. It's about self-awareness, self-inquiry, and how can I transform? How can I set boundaries? How can I step into power? How can I make a change? So experiencing traumatic relationship, it's a pain, but what's the profit? Thank you for being the catalyst for my deep inner transformation and self-love. So choose one difficult relationship that you want to improve. It can be a person in your life. It can be a past relationship with someone who's no longer in your life. Perhaps look at someone in your life, because that might be ripe for transformation now, something you can change. But basically also I got him out. I escaped. I got him out, and then I had a really dark night of the soul, and I was deep in PTSD, and I left my job and I went to Thailand, and that's when everything unfolded. And I wandered the earth and decided to really look at myself. Here's an example of how to structure your response. Use their name, say what you're thankful for and why it had an impact. So here's an example. Thank you, Michael. I'm so grateful that I experienced the abuse of my generosity, kindness. I learned to understand my inner child wounds, limiting beliefs, and as a result, develop self-love, set healthy boundaries, and create a life of reciprocal relationships. I learned how to break codependent patterns, and now I live a happy and healthy life. So that's an example of how you can structure your inquiry and your gratitude, looking for the lessons and the blessings. Think of 10 reasons why you can shift your lens and reclaim power through the power of perspective. Then write your thank you statements. And that's it. So the 4 steps of appreciation today: list, do your gratitude rituals, the Instagram load. Yep. It's Seeking with Sir. At Seeking with Sir. And she's good. Like I'm gonna, stay on there. This is she's good. She's doing what she has to do. Seeking with Sir. List 10 things you are grateful for. Use the what, why, and how. And write thank you, thank you, thank you. And then choose one difficult relationship that you want to improve. Write a written list of 10 things you're grateful for about the person you've chosen. Write your 10 reflections in the following way. Thank you, blah, blah, I'm grateful for, and what it is that you're grateful for. Healing relationships, turn your pain into profit. This is one of my favorite elements to work with. Fire. This was in my garden. I just used my fire pit. You can throw them in there. If you want to dissolve it, you can throw them in there. Or you can just look at the fire and connect with the energy of alchemy and transformation and burning away all the shit. Gratitude is an antidote to negative emotions, a neutralizer of envy, hostility, and worry, and irritation. It is a savoring. It's not taking things for granted. It is present oriented. Now, what I'm not saying to you guys is don't feel. I'm not saying do not feel. I'm not saying use toxic positivity. This is deep. This is about doing the shadow work. This is about deconditioning to reconditioning. This is about feeling the grief, feeling the anger, feeling the shame, feeling the rage, feeling all of the things, the wounding, all of it. Embrace, accept, unwind. So we accept the feeling that we have. We embrace the experience. We unwind it, and then we look at what we can use gratitude to say, what is the lesson and the blessing? Why was this a path to power? So you're taking it on a journey from what it is to seeing the blessing in there. Because why not? Like, either we can wallow in shit in life and we can live in the shit, or you can actually go and take a shower and clear it off, and then transform. So let me see if there's anything before I wrap up. There's anything no, there we go. So I'm wrapping up now, guys. So thank you so much for being here today. And if you have any questions, if there are, anything you want to say, any impact, anything you want to share, do so. Just be in the space, be in the community, have your fun, live your life, and go in peace, go in peace. My view is that we are here to experience joy. We're here to experience peace. We don't have to walk around with this heavy energy all our lives. We can let it go, release. Thank you, Jay. Sending you so much love. Thank you. Mwah. Have a great day, guys. I'll do day 15 tomorrow because it's another big one, and I've done today now, so I'll do day 15 tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye.